Hello. This voucher briefing means that you have been selected from the Housing Choice Voucher waiting list, formerly Section 8, and have been found eligible to receive a voucher. Today we're going to discuss what the voucher is, the rules of the voucher program, and how to use the voucher to find suitable properties. The voucher program is a federally funded HUD rental assistance program. First, we'll go over the voucher together, and I will explain the rules of the program before you sign the voucher. Currently, you are a selected applicant off of the voucher waiting list. You are not a voucher participant until that unit is approved and your rental assistance begins. There are 2 copies of the voucher. One is your personal copy to keep while searching for a rental unit, and the other must be returned to the office. At the top right-hand corner of the voucher, you will see a handwritten note, which is the type of voucher you are receiving. It will either say our area or anywhere. This is a notation to let you know how you could use your voucher. If you were living, working, or attending school in Northampton County Housing Authority jurisdiction and met the preferences for that on the waiting list, you will have an anywhere voucher, meaning you can search for a rental unit anywhere and have the voucher transferred at this time. We will talk about more later. If your voucher says our area, this means that you have not met the residency preference for the Northampton County Housing Authority and must do so for the first year in order to qualify for this voucher. This means that you must move into Northampton County jurisdiction, excluding the cities of Easton and Bethlehem. Further down the voucher on the right side, you will notice a bedroom size in box number one. That is the size that you were found to be eligible for. Box number 2, you will see the issue date, which should be the day that you're doing your briefing. And then the expiration date is 60 days from the date that you received your voucher. So your voucher starts on the issue date and it expires 60 days later on the expiration date. Box number 5 and 6 is your name and signature. Box number 7, 8, and 9 is myself and my agency. What I caution you is to use your voucher as quickly as possible. The quicker you use your voucher, the better off you're going to have a chance to find something before your voucher expires. You can be eligible for 2 30-day extensions if we still have funding. However, we don't know, we never know at any given time if that's going to change. So I do caution you to use your voucher as quickly as possible. Obviously within reason, because it has to pass the housing quality unit standards. So if you turn to page 2 of the voucher, page 2, you're going to see right here at the top, you'll see obligations of the family number 4. When the family's unit is approved and the HAP contract is executed, HAP is the housing assistance program. When the contract is executed, the family must follow the following rules listed below in order to participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Letter B, the family must supply any information that the Housing Authority, Public Housing Authority is PHA, or HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, that's the federal government program, determines to be necessary, including evidence of citizenship or eligible immigration status, and information for use in a regularly scheduled reexamination or interim reexamination of the family income composition. You must disclose and verify Social Security numbers and sign and submit consent forms for obtaining information. So number 1 and number 2, when you put in your eligibility application that was sent to you in the mail and sent that back in, that's what you did with those first 2. That's how you satisfied those. You must supply any information requested by the Housing Authority to verify that the family is living in the unit or information related to family absence from the unit. So if you're out of the unit for a bit, you need to let us know. That's going to kind of go with number 4. Notify the Housing Authority in writing when the family is away from the unit for an extended period of time in accordance with PHA policies. So 3 and 4 kind of go together. If you're going to be out of town, if you're going to help a relative, or just going to be away for a couple weeks, if you're in the hospital, notify your landlord, let your housing authority know, talk to your management aide, let them know. You don't have to tell them everything, just let them know that you're away and, kind of what's going on so they're aware if they get a phone call that says, "Oh, I haven't seen Mrs. Smith in a couple weeks, she hasn't been around," at least they kind of know where to find you, you know, that you're okay and everything's fine, that you didn't just abandon your unit. Number 5, allow the Public Housing Authority to inspect the unit at reasonable times and after reasonable notice. They will send you a letter and give you notice when they need to do an inspection. Number 6, notify the housing authority and the owner in writing before moving out of the unit or terminating the lease. Of course, you're going to give your written notice just like you would with any other lease. Number 7, use the assisted area for residence by the family. The unit must be the family's only residence. You can't have 2 residents. You can only have this residence if you were on this program, and it has to be your primary residence. Number 8, promptly notify the housing authority in writing of a birth, adoption, or court-ordered custody of a child. That's self-explanatory. Number 9, request housing authority written approval to add any other family member as an occupant of the unit. So that they're going to go through all the same background checks that you went through. So if you're going to add anybody to your unit, you need to do it in writing first with the housing authority. Your management aide will work through that with you and give you all the required papers. Number 10, promptly notify the housing authority in writing if any family member no longer lives in the unit. Give the housing authority a copy of any owner eviction notices. That's pretty self-explanatory. If somebody moves out, we want to recalculate your rent. You want to make sure that your rent is always calculated on the accurate income in your home. Number 11, pay utility bills and provide and maintain any appliances that the owner is not required to provide under the lease. Letter C, any information that the family supplies must be true and complete. Letter D, the family, including each family member, must not, number 1, own or have any interest in the unit other than a co-op or a owner of a manufactured home leasing home space. Number 2, commit any serious or repeated violations of the lease. Number 3, must not commit fraud, bribery, or any other corrupt or criminal act in connection with the program. Number 4, must not engage in drug-related criminal activity, violent criminal activity, or other criminal activity that threatens the health, safety, or right to peaceful enjoyment of other residents and persons residing in the immediate vicinity. So, of course, that basically means stay within the law, respect your neighbors, and hopefully they'll respect you as well. Number 5, sublease or sublet the unit or assign or transfer the unit. You hit the lottery, you have a friend who's homeless, you can't let them move in and you move out. That doesn't work. We are not allowed to transfer the lease. Number 6, you may not receive Housing Choice Voucher Program housing assistance while receiving another housing subsidy, whether it be federal, state, or local. Only one subsidy is at a time. You may not damage the unit or premises other than ordinary wear and tear, or permit any guests to do the same. You may not receive Housing Choice Voucher Program housing assistance while residing in a unit owned by a parent, a child, a grandparent, a grandchild, a sister or brother of any member of the family, unless the housing authority has determined and notified the owner and the family of such determination that approving the rental of the unit, notwithstanding such relationship, would provide reasonable accommodations for a family member who is a person with a disability. So in some cases, you can have an exception approved if they feel like that is necessary for a person with a disability to help them. Number 9, you may not engage in abuse of alcohol in a way that threatens the health, safety, and right to peaceful enjoyment of the other residents and persons residing in the immediate vicinity of the premises. So if you have no questions at this time, if you have 2 copies of the voucher, you will sign one and you will send that back into our office. The next document that we're going to review is the Northampton County Housing Authority Housing Choice Voucher Program Occupancy Policy. Northampton County Housing Authority Section 8 policy states that no person other than those listed on the lease or Section 8 records shall live or stay in the unit. This is to ensure the total tenant payment is accurately based on the total monthly income of that household. If you want anybody to move in, you do have to get permission prior to having them move in. You need to get the landlord permission, first of all, and then you will contact your management aide and they will have to go through the same checks and balances that you did in order to be approved for residing in your unit. You have to, anything that happens that is not reported, you may be in result of a repayment to the housing authority. So make sure the Northampton County Housing Authority does look at someone receiving income or someone receiving mail in your home as being an occupant of your unit. So please make sure nobody uses your mailing address as their own address. This includes utility bills. You may not have utility bills in anyone else's name. As long as you understand that, you do certify by your signature that you are understanding this policy, and you will sign. The head of the household will sign here right below their printed household name. They will sign below that. And then any other family members that are 18 or over must sign and date also this policy so they are aware of it as well. And then you can put that one aside for now. The next document that we're going to see is the housing fraud document. So what this basically talks about, this is a HUD form regarding committing fraud while on a federally funded program. HUD is very serious about the rules of the program that I explained on the voucher called the family obligations. This form lists what is specifically required to be reported. If it has been determined in the future that you have violated one of these fraudulently, HUD could require you to pay money to the housing authority, face up to a $5,000 fine, or worst case scenario, prison. So if you look here at the bottom of the first page, under So Be Careful, you'll see it says all sources of income and changes in income you or any member of your household receives, such as wages, welfare payments, Social Security, veterans benefits, pensions, retirements, any money you receive on behalf of your children, such as child support, cash assistance, Social Security for your children, any of that is necessary to be reported for us to make sure that you are within the guidelines. You do have 10 days to report all changes, and they must be in writing. We in the office cannot change anything unless it is in writing. That's a phone number, that's an address, that's who's living in the house, that's I make more money now, that's I make less money now. So that you want to make sure, you adopt a child, you have a child, all that needs to be in writing. So with that being said, the next form we're going to move on to talks about the Northampton County Assisted Area. So if you have an hour area voucher, you must find a unit and live within the listed areas below. This is just a general list of all Northampton County. You may not live in Easton or Bethlehem. Bethlehem Township, which is a Bethel mailing address, is acceptable. You will see that I did say Easton is not acceptable. However, Forks Township, Palmer Township, Williams Township, Glendon, all Easton mailing addresses, but they are not technically Easton. And then again, the anywhere voucher. If your voucher is an anywhere voucher, you may move anywhere, which does include the cities of Easton or Bethlehem. You may move outside of Northampton County if that's what you desire. The next two forms that you're going to see are talk about portability. Basically, portability is what we're doing when we tell you can take your voucher with you. If you decide, here's some local housing authorities, contact information if you want to live local. However, if you're looking to move a little further, out of state, out of county, maybe the other side of Pennsylvania, this document right here, how portability works, definitely gives you some good information. You can also, of course, ask your management aide if you have any questions on that. The next document you're going to see is called A Good Place to Live. This is actually a booklet, and basically this booklet explains what the housing inspector is looking for, talks about the housing quality standards and what kind of things they are looking for. So before any unit that you find or currently reside in would be approved for the voucher program, it must be inspected and approved. This packet explains what the inspectors are looking for and if it passes HUD's housing quality standards inspection. Please review, keep it in a good place so that you can refer to it as you're looking for places to live. The next document you're going to see is another booklet. It's called Protect Your Family from Lead in the Home. Many houses in our area were built before 1978 and therefore could have lead-based paint products under the existing paint. This is particularly an issue for children under 6 to 8 years of age if the lead paint becomes exposed. This is something an inspector will look for during the housing quality inspection, especially if you have children under the age of 6 in your house. Shipping peeling paint, children chewing on windowsills and things like that could be an issue, could cause brain damage, kidney damage, or of course lead poisoning. A landlord does need to disclose if the house you're living in, and I will show you that later, they do have to disclose if they're aware of any lead-based paint in the home. The next document you'll see here is called an apartment log. This is just a document that I put in here to help you to keep your housing search in order. If it's easier to use a notebook or something like that, that is just fine too, just to make it easier for you. The next document you're going to see says information for landlords and apartment owners. So you're out looking for a place, you come up to a place you like, landlord says, you ask them if they accept Section 8, and they say to you, I don't know, what is Section 8? I don't know, what is the housing voucher program? So this document here is a great document with a lot of information on it. It does give them information on the program, kind of how it works, how do you get involved, what are the steps, that kind of thing. What happens if the landlord has a problem with a tenant. So this is a nice document for them, talks about eviction if need be, that kind of thing. The nice thing about our information for landlords and apartment owners is they can also go to our website, which is www.northamptoncountyha.org. And they can also look at, we have a lot of great information for landlords. There's a landlord tab there. There's a lot of great information on there for them if they have questions. If for some reason they still have a question and they want to participate, you can always put them in touch with your management aide to help them understand or get things moving. The next document you're going to see is a booklet called Fair Housing. Anybody can discriminate. It's very easy, especially if you're, unsure of the laws or, just talking in general. It's very easy to sometimes discriminate unintentionally. So this book gives you some great information. Make sure you know your rights. You want to make sure that you are not discriminated against. So make sure you know your rights. And if you have any issues, make sure you report them. We want to make sure we kind of nip all those in the bud, and we don't have a lot of those issues roving around. We want to make sure everyone's treated fairly, so that when it comes time to look for an apartment, you want to be treated fairly. You don't want to be discriminated against because of the color of your skin or your race or your gender or any of the above. All right, the next unit, this brings us up to probably the piece you were all waiting for. This is the most important part. This talks about what you can spend and how that works. So I'm going to ask you to take out 3 documents out of your packet now. The first one here says example unit. The second one here, you'll see estimating tenant rent. And the third one you're going to see looks like a big grid with lots of boxes and numbers on it. So if you can put those side by side, that will make this a little bit easier, and we'll go through a little at a time and kind of explain how it works. So we're going to start with the example unit. The example unit, John Smith receives a voucher to search for a 3-bedroom unit. Mr. Smith finds a 3-bedroom unit that is an inner row townhouse, and the tenant will have to pay for the heat and hot water, which are both electric, as well as basic electric and cooking. The rent for the unit is $1,100, and the landlord pays for the water, sewer, and trash. So if you look, you'll know from looking at your voucher what size unit you have. If you go down to the next page that I asked you to bring out, the estimating tenant rent, you'll see right here these payment standards. So payment standards for a 3-bedroom unit are $1,459, $1,459 a month. If you look right above there, it says standards effective 1/1/2020, rents including utilities. That does not mean that the landlord has to pay all the utilities. That just means we need to make sure that your rent with the utilities is not going to exceed that number. So if you look, on the next box that you have, or the next paper you have, that I asked you to take out, it says attachment number 3. It's the one here with all the boxes, the grid with all the numbers. So if you look at this document, you will see it says on the left-hand side, it says heating in a row. And above that, it also says townhouse or apartment. So if we go down to electric heat, which it said the unit that Mr. Smith found had electric heat, we're going to go down to electric under heating in a row, and we're going to slide over to the 3-bedroom unit, which says it's $124. If you go down, so we're going to, if you want to highlight that or circle that, just to keep that in mind, you can write that down if it's easier. Then we're going to go down. They said that he is going to pay for electric water heating. You'll see about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see water heating. Under that, you'll see natural gas, bottled gas, oil, and electric. So we're going to take electric, go across to the 3-bedroom, which is $43. And then right above water heating, you'll see other electric. That is your lighting and your air conditioner. If you look at those two numbers over to the 3-bedroom spot respectively, you will see that lighting is $50 and air conditioning is $20. So those are the utilities that Mr. Smith is responsible to pay in this particular unit he found. If you look here at the bottom under the grid, you will see an electric service charge and a natural gas service charge. So the electric service charge is a service charge charged by the company, not us, so we have to add it in. Same thing if you were paying something that was natural gas. In this situation, Mr. Smith is not. So we'll see that natural gas service charge is $16. So if you add all of those up, you will get $260 total for utilities. Okay, so of that $260, we are going to add that to the $1,100 rent, because the apartment that Mr. Smith found here, if you remember, and it's spelled out right here on the example unit, Mr. Smith's rent was $1,100. So he would be paying a total for this apartment. It would be a total of $1,360. The payment standard that we said for a 3-bedroom is $1,459. So this unit would be within allowable payment standards. So we're going to now look, so you are going to pay 30% of your rent. The tenant portion is 30% of the gross monthly income. So if you make $1,000 a month gross, that's before taxes, you would be paying, you're going to pay 30% of your total payment, of your total income. So 30% of your gross income of $1,000 would be $300. Okay, so that's going to be your portion. That's going to be the tenant's portion of what you are going to be contributing to your rent/utilities. So the total, so since you're paying $300, and we remember that $260 was the total we came up for utilities, we are going to take $300, which is your tenant payment, minus $260, which is what you are going to be paying for utilities approximately, to get a balance of $40 of rent, which will go to the landlord. So that $260 is going to be yours to keep to pay the utilities. You may still use other programs like LIHEAP, On Track, a budget program with the utility companies. That's fine. If you're thrifty and you don't spend quite that much, then that's fine. But you'll need to pay that. You'll need to pay your utilities out of that and keep them paid up to date. And your rent then to the landlord, your portion of the landlord rent will go directly to the landlord. There are also times that you may find a unit of a larger bedroom size than the bedroom size listed on your voucher. This may be allowable as long as the rent and utilities are within the allowable payment standard for the bedroom size listed on your voucher. So you would have to go through the same thing that I just did with you to see if that would qualify. If you find a smaller apartment, the smaller payment standard would be used. So that would be if you find a 2-bedroom unit and you think that's going to work for you, then that's fine. But we would then use the 2-bedroom unit rate of $1,128. So I hope that was understandable to everyone. Please remember that every utility or every landlord that you talk to every apartment you look at is going to be different because landlords all expect you to pay different utilities. So just keep that in mind when you're going, when you're looking at places. You're going to need these these 2 forms that we just used. You're going to need them to really check into what you're responsible for at each unit. The next document that you're going to see is going to be, it says on the front, what happens when you find a place to rent. There should be a front colored sheet, and it is a packet of papers. You're going to see here, you'll see the steps, step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can read over this at your leisure. This kind of gives you an idea of how things are going to work, kind of the time frame. So first you're going to submit this request for tenancy approval, which is attached to this document, which we're going to go over next. It would be a 1-year lease, and then your security deposit may not be more than 1 month. It is the tenant's responsibility to pay the security deposit. If possible, do not pay a security deposit until the unit has been inspected. If you must pay a deposit to hold the unit, it is advised that you ask for a written statement that the deposit will be refunded if the unit is not approved for the voucher program. Number 2, you're going to return your RTA or request for tenancy approval to your Section 8 management aid. Step number 3, they will schedule the housing quality standards inspection. Number 4, when the unit passes, a rent reasonable test is done by the housing authority. That's just to make sure that the landlords are not price gouging and they're not overly inflating their rents. Step number 5, the lease and contract are prepared by the Section 8 staff. The only days that we make leases effective are the 1st or the 15th of the month. So please know that when you submit your RTA, it's going to take a couple weeks. They got to get the inspector out. They got to get everything prepared. So don't expect it to happen the day after, the week after. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Tenant is notified and landlord is notified, and then signatures will be received by everyone. So let's look over the request for tenancy approval, or RTA as we call it. The request for tenancy approval is the documents that you are going to send in or drop off to your management aid so that they can get the housing unit inspected to see if it passes our standards. Pay close attention here to box number 6 and box number 7. Box number 6 is going to be the rent that the landlord quoted you or that was advertised. Make sure it's the rent that he or she told you that it would be. Box number 7, security deposit. As we talked about, they are only allowed to charge you 1 month security deposit. So please make sure that that is reflected here. If you go halfway down a page looking at number 11, this bottom half talks about what utilities you are required to pay. You'll see down the left side, it talks about the utilities, and then at the bottom, the appliances. And then over on the right side, it would be paid, they would put either O for owner or T for tenant. That tells you who is paying that particular bill. So please make sure that whatever a landlord said to you or a property manager is what actually gets to this paperwork. The bottom of this page, you're going to be signing. Landlord will be signing and filling out his portion as well, and you will be signing. This is saying that you are in agreement for what's on this contract. So please, please, please make sure that when you see this and when your landlord fills it out, that you are accurately making sure that everything is accurate on there, that he or she accurately filled it out. The next document in that packet is attachment 1, request for tenancy approval. This is the landlord asking for references, which they may do, most recent landlord, previous landlord, and of course your address. They may do background, they may do a reference check with your landlord. Some do not. That has nothing to do with us. Next thing you want to look at here is the lead-based paint disclosure. It says attachment number 2. The lead-based paint disclosure is basically saying, the landlord saying, yes, I know about the lead-based paint in the house, or no, I have no knowledge of lead-based paint. If they know, they have to disclose. Attachment number 3 is us as the housing authority asking the landlord, do you owe any municipal, county, or school district taxes? Do you owe any past due municipal utility bills, which would be water, sewer, or trash? we want to make sure that we put you in a good situation, not a situation where the landlord's behind on everything, and all of a sudden the sheriff's going to slap up a sheriff's sale notice on your door. So that's why we ask those questions. So that is what you're going to fill out. That's your RTA. Once you complete that after you found a unit, you're going to turn that into the Section 8 voucher office, and they will start your inspection process and do everything they need to do on our end. The next two documents you're going to see, one of them is the VAWA Act, which says Violence Against Women. That is a trifold act, a trifold brochure, I apologize. And the next one is going to be Northampton County Housing Authority's policy on the VAWA Act. So the VAWA Act applies to both men and women, even though it says women. It does apply to both men and women. Talks about dating violence, rape, domestic violence, that kind of thing. So if any of that would apply to you, you can certainly read through our process and our policy. And if there's any concerns you have in regard to that, you can certainly talk to your management. The last document that you're going to see here is the Section 8 Voucher Department information. This just tells you the information for your voucher office, where the office is located, which is at 15 South Wood Street in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, 18064. Our office is actually located in the basement of the Oliver Border House building at 15 South Wood Street. We are around the back on the side, so we do have a special parking lot there. Their telephone number is 610-759-8488. Their normal office hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. If you have any other questions, if you will look on your paperwork, you will also have your management aide's name. They go by alphabetical order, A through K being one management aide, L through Z being the other management aide. If you have any questions, you can certainly contact your management aide. They will be your new point of contact now that you are no longer going to be working with me. I wish you all good luck and much success. As I said, try to use it as quick as possible. You waited long enough. You don't want to lose what you have now earned. Thank you again, and have a great day.